We are Zooming once again with Brigitte Blanton at the library to talk about all the great things happening there. Brigitte, great to see you.
Great to see you too, Rosemary.
And you know, the library has been such a wonderful resource for us through this whole pandemic up until now, with all the online programming and just the different ways that you were keeping us reading, even during this difficult time before we could go to the library. But now we can go back. Explain kind of how we can go back and how we're doing that safely.
Okay, so one of the ways, the first way is curbside service. So if you still don't feel like coming in, you're not quite comfortable with that, you can place items on hold. And when those items are ready, our staff will let you know that. And then when you are ready to come get it, you'll call ahead. And a lot of the locations now are giving you an appointment time. So that you can come in and pick it up between a certain time, they'll be available, and our staff will take it out to your car. So it's just truly curbside service. But on June 29th, we started grab and go service, which allows our customers to come into the library for up to 30 minutes to browse. So you actually do get to walk through the stacks and see the books and make your own selection. But for folks who actually want to come in quickly and grab something, we actually, a lot of the locations have what we call book bundles put together. So they're nicely wrapped together, like 5 books with some twine on them. And you can actually pick those up, check those out, and go as well. We tried to make it presentable because we understand there are different levels of comfort, but we want to make sure that we're available. So that's grab and go is our solution to that.
What has been the response?
I think the response has been great in the sense that folks want to come in. There were still some folks who are like, we're not ready, and that's why we remind them that we have curbside. There are folks, of course, who wished it was more than that, which means we don't have computer access going on. We have a couple of branches that we are quietly test piloting computer access because we want to make sure that we can make that work. We had to get software so staff members could safely remote into a customer's computer that needed help to assist so that we could maintain the proper level of social distancing. We didn't use that before, so that's a new product that we're actually trying out, because when our folks come back in to use computers that, of course, socially distance apart, we still want to be able to assist them if they need help.
Yeah, there's a learning curve, and we're all having to learn new things and to take more care so that we can be there for each other, but be safe for each other as well.
Correct.
All right, so we heard the announcement that the library is no longer charging overdue book fines. Explain how that happened and why.
Well, you know, there have been studies done by the American Library Association, the Urban Libraries Council. Libraries across the nation have been looking at this a lot in probably, I would say, the last 5 years or more. We've been looking at it here in Greensboro as well. But when our city manager, David Parrish, said to the department heads after, I think it was specifically after we had actually had the first Unity Walk with Black Tuesday, we had the conversation among the department heads, and he asked us, do you have any policies or procedures that you consider to create racial or social inequity? Well, immediately I knew the answer to that, because we find that the fines are prohibitive in our communities that are socially impacted, either racially or socioeconomically. So we have stories that we've known. Rosemary, I've been in the library for a long time, and I've seen the stories. I've lived them myself with customers. But even, you know, in the past months before COVID hit, there were staff members saying, oh, wow, you know, this family came in and they were going to check out books, and they couldn't check out books because they owed us a fine. And, you know, people are like, oh, well, they lost books. No, those are fines, which means it's really hard to say to a customer, you know, Miss Clyburn, you owe us $25. And your first instinct, oh, well, did my kids lose a book? And we're like, no, they didn't lose it, but you brought them back late. And so you owe us this money and you can't check out. That sounds very counterintuitive to people that are trying to, our new tagline for the Greensboro Public Library is a conduit to destiny. How can you be a conduit to destiny when a fine for materials that we have back in hand that have probably checked out multiple times since that person brought it back, to become a barrier between that child, that family, having access to books?
What has the response been?
The response primarily has been great. People are excited. I think we've had a few people that have reached out to us because they wonder about the stewardship issue. And so I will use this as an opportunity to explain. This does not, if you lose a book or damage it, the book does have to be paid for. So this is not one of those situations where people can take a book and keep it forever. If you take it and keep it forever, we have a process by which after that book has been out for so long, it goes into lost. So I want to break that myth down, that it's not that they can keep them forever and never have to pay for them. it will go into lost status if that book is not returned, and then they will become responsible for the lost item or the damaged item, but not for bringing it back and letting us have other people use it. So that's the difference between those two.
So really, if you have been afraid to go back to the library because you had a book that was way overdue, or if you just have a lot of fines, you don't have to be afraid anymore. Come on back.
That's correct.
And check out a book.
That's right. Because we believe that the services that we offer, because it's not just Rosemary that they came in and they didn't check out books. Many people did not come into the library because they owed the fines.
Right.
So the great programming that we would have, the access to computers, the expertise of staff to assist in folks in what they're searching for, they just didn't have that service because they thought it meant that none of that could happen. And so now, knowing that fines aren't there as a barrier anymore, much more able to come in, realize there's all these other great things happening, what we're here to do for you in the community. And that's a great thing because we are free. We're a free service. You know, part of our mission statement says free and equal access. Well, that's not really free access when you have fines, not lost books, but fines keeping you from the access to materials and services.
Brigitte, is this something that's happening in other cities around the country?
Oh, yes, definitely. As a matter of fact, there was a segment that we did, and they had actually talked to Wake County here in North Carolina that actually implemented in January. There's several other libraries in North Carolina and around the country that are doing this. One of my colleagues in another library system in North Carolina said to us a little while ago, she said, well, my list keeps getting longer of people who are actually moving in this direction. Right. So she's hoping to do the same thing in their county. So it is a trend because we can be an equalizer in communities to access, to expertise, and a safe place for people to do that. And we want to remove that barrier even now. I think people will look to come in, once we're back to whatever the new normal is and people can come in for longer than 30 minutes, I think we'll find folks coming in because they realize the value of the public library. I think people in COVID are watching their dollars and cents a little more. So some of the things they would have gone to the bookstore to pay for, or even rented a movie from one of the kiosk kind of things, they will now probably look to us because once those dollars and cents are back in your pocket, you pay attention to how you expend them. So that's not just for folks who are in a situation of, really, really tough times, but even those of us who it's okay, but like you're really thinking about how you spend your money. And if there's a public library, there's no reason for you to spend money on buying books until maybe after you've checked it out, you think it's wonderful and you buy it to add it to your collection.
Absolutely. Okay, I'm going to put you on the spot. Brigitte, what are you reading right now?
Oh, wow. You know what? I'm reading, which is for me is audiobooks these days, Fern Michaels, and I think this one's called Crash and Run. Okay. And the reason she has a series that's called the Sisterhood series. So it's this group of women that are vigilantes that go around seeking justice. So yeah, that's what I'm reading now.
Oh, put on your cape, Captain Library. I love it. And we should mention that you can check out audiobooks, you can check out videos, you can check out books. I mean, it on and on.
Right.
The library is a huge resource, right, and not just for books.
Exactly. Not just for books and not just inside the building. We have our website, which has access to our ebooks and downloadable audiobooks. There's also the availability we have Canopy, which is streaming video. There is a whole lot. If you have your Greensboro Public Library card, you have access to so much. And I just ask people to really stop just for just a little bit to realize what that card does for them, what it provides them, with access, not just to them, their families, and right now with our kids, with school mainly being online for the first quarter, the resources and services that the library has that can supplement their education is important. We are asking our staff to begin programmatically to look at how we can package things even to help support curriculum that people can get to us through our online services.
And you brought that up about schools. Can students still use their student ID cards as a library card?
Yes. That's one of the greatest things we've probably done in years as well, which was allow that access for them to use their student ID number, which is one that they can use. So that can still happen. And what I will say, if they are having issues with that, they should just reach out to their local public library, because a lot of times it may be that one of two things: that student's new to the school they're going to, so they haven't been uploaded into the system. But we ask parents and students to let us know that, so that we can work with the school system to get those uploads so that's the most current and most up to date.
Brigitte, it is always great to talk with you and great to see you, even on the computer. I can't wait to meet in person. Keep up with everything happening at the library by going to greensborolibrary.org.